Much more straight ahead in about 15 minutes. The time right now is 6 o'clock.
Happening now.
National Grid announces plans to cut 1,200 jobs. We'll tell you what prompted the move.
Sheriff's deputies on the lookout tonight in Lysander for a man prowling around the Radisson development.
And deadline day arrives in Onondaga County as thousands line up to pay their taxes.
From WSYR-TV Syracuse, now in high definition. This is News Channel 9 at 6.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Lazarus.
And I'm Rod Wood. It is a painful day for many Onondaga County residents who lined up with checkbooks in hand, all to pay their property taxes on time.
Business was brisk at many town halls today, including Salina. It's staying open late this evening to make sure that people won't be penalized. News Channel 9's Keith Copeland is live there tonight. Keith, how are people dealing with paying so much more this year?
Carrie, I think it's safe to say that they're dealing. Obviously not happy with it. They understand what's at stake here. They certainly aren't holding towns at fault. And depending on where you live, that could be an increase of anywhere from 5, 10, 15. We know in Elbridge they were looking at 78% in some cases. We are at Salina Town Hall where they stayed open late tonight to deal with the extra people who were coming in to pay those taxes. In fact, they closed just a few seconds ago. They were doing whatever they could to help people who, quite frankly, right now, are hurting.
It's frustrating, it's depressing, it's painful.
But for Fred Harfman of Salina, it's a necessity he can't avoid.
All right, thank you.
Fred was one of dozens of people we found in line at town halls throughout central New York. People who waited until the final day to pay their taxes on time.
Well, it's a lot of money out of my pocket. Could be spent on other things. Enjoyable things.
Great, thanks. Have a good one.
It appears a lot of people are waiting. The tax collector in Salina says as of Friday there was 65% compliance, with many waiting until the bitter end. Alicia McCullum, the tax collector there, also says she's seeing a big increase in people making a partial payment to avoid getting penalized on the full amount.
They're apologizing, but no apologies. If you can't make the full payment and you can make that half payment, some towns do allow that, and it helps people.
And while it does appear that some people understand,
I think you should always expect it, I think, in today's world. You know, if you think everything is going to go backwards to 1920, 1940, it's not going to happen. We all know that. And it's to make sure, hopefully, that in my opinion, that all the basic services are covered.
There are others who say whether it's going to the town, the county, or New York State.
You know what? It actually doesn't matter to me. Bottom line is it's out of my pocket. It's more overtime you got to work to pay for it. It's frustrating.
Certainly frustrating for a lot of people, and the tax collector here in Salina says it's really a case of a double whammy, Carrie, because people are being hit with it now, and then they will most likely be hit with it again in September, when school taxes are due. Carrie?
All right, Keith, thank you. Now, for people who did not pay their taxes on time, there is a 1% penalty on the amount due, and that will start to add up beginning tomorrow.
Scary moments Saturday night when a person living in Lysander's Radisson development woke up to find a man inside their home rummaging through their things. The incident sparked a search that night and again Sunday evening after deputies received calls of a suspicious person in the same area. Air 1 was called in and circled over the neighborhood for nearly an hour, something Sheriff Kevin Walsh says was appropriate considering the area and the crime.
It is not a high crime area, but we have no areas in Onondaga County that are totally crime free. And there's certainly always the possibility of something very serious occurring. That's why we put out the kind of response that we put out whenever we get something of this nature.
Walsh also says there will be stepped-up patrols in the neighborhood. Anyone who may have seen any suspicious activity in Radisson over the weekend should call the Sheriff's Department at 435-3081. Police in DeWitt are also on the lookout tonight for a number of suspects involved in an assault at the Denny's restaurant early Sunday morning. Police say a fight involving about 15 people broke out just before 4 a.m. 4 people were stabbed as a result. They were all taken to the hospital. 3 were treated and released. 1 victim remains hospitalized. Investigators say they're working off of interviews and surveillance video to try and track down those responsible. No word tonight on whether those involved knew each other. Fortunately, no other patrons were injured during the incident.
The news from National Grid is not good. They'll be shedding about 7% of the workforce in the U.S. over the next few months as they look to save about $200 million. Now, the company will not say how many of the 1,200 jobs will come from Syracuse, only that every region of the U.S. operations will be impacted. Jeff Kulikowski is live tonight outside the company's headquarters downtown. Jeff, from what they're saying, the upstate operation is a real drain on the company. Is that right?
Absolutely, Carrie. What they're saying about the old NIMO system is that it's losing the company money, and they say that it's underperforming markedly different than any other of its regions. The company president of the USA division says that the state PSC's decision about a week and a half ago to approve only about a third of the rate hike that they were looking for will impact National Grid's investment in this system.
But we can only respond to the signals that we get from our regulators, from our customers. If they say that this is the budget, this is the amount that we believe is prudent to spend on the upstate New York system, then we're going to live within those means.
No less than the head of Grid's U.S. division today called the upstate system aged and in need of upgrade, but says in light of the PSC decision earlier this month, the company will be very cautious about overinvesting until regulators support that kind of investment. Grid says it won't cut service or allow it to deteriorate, but may not invest in New York's system upstate the way it wants. But the news is not all grim. The restructuring will not impact the company's transaction delivery center set up in Syracuse last summer.
This is a center that does work for National Grid throughout the U.S. And it's dedicated, it's efficient, it's one way we're saving money. It's right here in Syracuse, and it's continuing to grow.
The company said the TDC would mean about 200 jobs right away and could add up to as many as 500 jobs in 3 years, Carrie.
All right, Jeff, thank you. National Grid says it's going to be a few months before they decide on where these 1,200 job cuts will come from, but they will all be at the management level and will not affect any union workers.
A traffic alert for downtown drivers. A broken traffic light at the intersection of Erie Boulevard and State Street is back up and running tonight. The busy intersection had turned into a four-way stop a few weeks ago when an oversized vehicle pulled down a span wire. Inspectors realized the job was too complex for the DPW to fix, so a company was hired to do the repairs with a price tag of $14,000. Fortunately, no accidents were reported at the intersection while the light was down.
A 15-year-old from Syracuse could spend the rest of his life in prison for his role in the death of a man last summer on the city's west side. Jesus Carmona was sentenced to 10 years to life. In Onondaga County Court today, he admitted that he and a friend opened fire on two men outside a South Gatta Street gas station. Carmona did not fire the shots that killed Luis Quinones, but he did severely wound the other victim. Judge Anthony Alloy called for a stop to the violence and told Carmona that the punishment fits the crime.
At 15 years old, you may very well spend the rest of your life in state prison. Quite frankly, you deserve it.
Carmona also pleaded guilty to first-degree assault. He was sentenced to 3 1/3 to 10 years for that conviction. The murder and assault sentences will be served concurrently.
Governor Cuomo claims he's found a longtime Albany secret that quietly and drastically increases spending in a flawed budget process. The governor says he wants to scrap the system that increased Medicaid and education spending by 13%, so that even a 7% cut announced publicly would be a 6% increase in funding. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the governor will unveil his budget plan to state lawmakers. We'll carry that live on our digital Channel 9-2, Time Warner Cable Channel 890, and Verizon Fios 470. We'll also be streaming it live at 9WSYR.com. Our Keith Copeland will also be in the Capitol, and we'll bring you live coverage beginning at 5 o'clock.
Well, we've got some absolutely beautiful photos to share with you at 6:27, from a gorgeous sunset to a rare eagle sighting, all in our pictures of the day.
But first, we'll show off more of what Central New York has to offer as we head to the Rosamond Gifford Zoo with one of News Channel 9's photojournalists. That's after your Storm Team forecast.
Yeah, Rob, pretty quiet out there right now, but clouds are coming in. Snow right now is moving into Illinois, and that snow will be with us for tomorrow morning's commute. More on that, and then Wednesday's snow. Pretty messy this week. All that is coming up next.
You're watching News Channel 9 at 6 o'clock. with Rod Wood and Carrie Lazarus, Storm Team meteorologist Dave Longley, and Stephen Fonte Sports. News Channel 9, the local station. Since 1962, News Channel 9 has redefined the standards in local news. A leader in innovation, never compromising, committed to serving you. And now, News Channel 9 is Central New York's first and Central New York's only local news in true high definition. Crystal clear, clearly better. News Channel 9, the local station. Now your Storm Team forecast with Chief Meteorologist Dave Longley.
13 right now. Live Doppler 9 is all quiet and it'll remain so until after midnight. Some snow begin to move into the area, and that snow by tomorrow morning and through the day tomorrow. We're looking at about a 2 to 4 inch accumulation where you see the light blue here from Rome over toward Fulton, Syracuse, and Auburn, but a little bit darker blue down toward Casanova, Cortland, Ithaca, Norwich. 4 to 7 inches of snow, and that again would stage 1 of our winter storm. Winter storm warnings are in effect through Wednesday. The main thrust of snow will come in here during the day on Wednesday. 13 right now, there's no wind, so the wind chill is at 13, humidity at 36%. And tomorrow morning, snow already showing up over parts of the Midwest right now. That's the moisture that'll be in here tomorrow morning. Really not a lot to show you in terms of Wednesday's storm. It hasn't even formed yet. All the ingredients are coming together down over Texas. So as we begin to take it through tonight, through midnight, we are fine. Tomorrow morning, widespread snow around here, and it's a moderate snowfall. You will need some extra time tomorrow morning as you're heading out the door. That snow will move out during the afternoon. By 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, pretty quiet around here. Tomorrow evening is fine. If you have some evening plans or even up through midnight, we're okay. But then the real heavy stuff gets in here. Heavy snow by 7 o'clock Wednesday morning, and through the morning on Wednesday, an inch or 2 per hour type snowfall will occur. There could even be some thunder and lightning, and that steady light snow will continue during the afternoon on Wednesday. And as we show you snowfall amounts by Wednesday evening, everything in this darker, well, first shade of blue is a foot or more, but you get a little bit darker blue here. And places like Norwich and Cortland on up through the Finger Lakes could see 16 or more inches of snow from this storm. So it's going to be a very messy travel day here during the day. Wednesday, and again, we'll be fine-tuning where this area of heavier snow will be, but certainly a very impactful storm for us come Wednesday. Not much wind tomorrow, so the chilometer will be in the teens during the day tomorrow, and then eventually much colder here as the wind kicks in on Wednesday. 23 degrees, snow likely tomorrow. A veritable snowstorm here on Wednesday, and 27. Scattered snow showers on Thursday, but really the storm is over. Thursday will be a much quieter day. We'll get the sun out on Friday and 24, and then warming up to around 30 over the weekend. A few scattered snow showers Saturday and Sunday.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. And coming up, you may have noticed or heard earlier in the broadcast that News Channel 9 has gone high definition. We've got our brand new studio, and we are now the first and only station in Central New York to broadcast in high definition.
And the crisp clearness, say that a few times, that HD is known for is even more evident in real life. Tonight, News Channel 9 photojournalist Scott Irving shows off wintertime at Rosamond Gifford Zoo.
This is called the diversity of birds. We try to premiere many species of birds throughout the zoo are here. It's really delightful to hear all the different species of birds whistling and singing, and you get to watch them fly around in this kind of habitat. So it's just great. It's actually a bleeding heart dove, and it looks just like it has a bleeding heart. It looks like there's blood stained on its chest. On the white feathers on its chest, and that's actually a normal thing that all bleeding heart doves have.
Indy cross. All right, steady. Indy wave. This time right now, they're not out very long just due to how cold it is, but we get them out every day, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day. Speak. Good.
Everybody seems to have their favorite animal that they want to come see. The ones that have evolved to stay outside in this weather don't seem to really be bothered at all by the depth of the snow. They're a lot better equipped than we are.
Look at it, oh my gosh.
It's always exciting when we have a new baby, and a monkey is of particular interest, especially to children. They're really interesting animals to watch. The animals are active. There's not a lot of crowds. The cafe is still open. The gift shop is still open, and it's a really pleasant place to be.
And a great place to spend a winter afternoon, certainly, Carrie.
Yes.
Well, if you want to see all the great things that Rosamond Gifford Zoo has to offer in every season, it's open each and every day from 10 until 4:30. 362 days out of the year.
I guess the animals, they get Christmas off, right?
That's it.
All right, coming up in sports, another local high school football star picks the orange.
Plus, the SU men's basketball team dropped several spots again in the national polling. We'll hear from the team, all that and more coming up at 6:22.
Warner Brothers Pictures and IMAX invite you on an underwater adventure.
In sports tonight, SU suffers another dramatic drop down the national polls. We'll get to that in a minute, but we begin with some college football news. Yet another local product has picked Syracuse. Last weekend, Baldwinsville senior Nick Robinson made his verbal commitment to the Orange. This weekend, CBA junior Ben Barrett followed suit. Barrett, number 54 for the Brothers, plays both offensive and defensive line at Christian Brothers Academy. Ben told me today he saw no reason to wait any longer to make his decision. Syracuse has been at the top of his list for as long as he can remember.
Syracuse was the right place for me in my heart. It's always been my top school. Ever since a little kid, I've always wanted to play there, and given that opportunity, I wanted to, jump on it. It's just basically a dream come true for me.
Barrett will have to wait a year before he can make his college choice official, but 5 other CBA athletes will take part in signing day on Wednesday, including quarterback Tyler Hamblin. He's heading to Harvard to play football. That's also the same day that the SU men's basketball team returns to action. The Orange needs to win at UConn in order for Jim Boeheim to avoid the first 5-game losing streak of his 35-year Hall of Fame career. A win would also stop this free fall in the national polls that we've seen the last 2 weeks. As we told you earlier, Syracuse down to number 17 in both the AP and coaches polls. Connecticut, meanwhile, is 6th in the AP, 7th in the coaches. The Big East continues to dominate the rankings. 7 teams in the top 20. West Virginia gives the conference an 8th team in the media poll. The Mountaineers check in at number 25. So such is life in the Big East. Had Syracuse not lost to Seton Hall last Tuesday, we might not even consider this a slump that SU is experiencing. 2 of their losses were to top 10 teams. 1 was on the road in a hostile environment at Marquette. The players say they can't afford to dwell on the last 2 weeks because if they do, the drought is only going to get worse.
Short memory. We lost this game. It's a tough league. We can't dwell on the past. We have to get prepared for the future. We got a couple big games coming up in the Big East, and hopefully we can pull out some wins.
We're capable of beating those teams. We just got to figure out, as a team, how we're gonna get better, and we'll be fine.
SU visits UConn 7 p.m. on Wednesday in Hartford before heading down to South Florida on Saturday. And with the basketball team out of town on Saturday, the men's lacrosse team will be occupying the Carrier Dome. The Orange will hold its first preseason scrimmage against Lemoyne and Hofstra. Today, the official preseason rankings were released. Syracuse is number 1 in the media poll, number 2 in the coaches poll behind Virginia. If you're wondering about Cornell, the Big Red, 7th in the media poll and 8th in the coaches. Well, if Carmelo Anthony thinks he was being booed badly at home in Denver, just wait until tonight. Melo makes his only trip of the season to New Jersey to face the Nets, the same team that had been aggressively pursuing him since the summer, but recently backed out because the trade became too expensive and too complicated. The main problem was that Anthony didn't want to sign a 3-year extension with the Nets, which was essentially stopped because he didn't want to go there. He never said that publicly, but the Nets
got the message, and so too did their fans. It's a 7 o'clock tip tonight in Newark. One guy who does have a new team is Jason Grilli. The former Baldwinsville star has reportedly agreed to a minor league contract with the Philadelphia Phillies. Grilli missed all of last season recovering from a knee injury. He spent 8 years in the majors. This will be his 6th different franchise, and he'll be starting in the minors, so there's a good chance he'll be facing the Chiefs the first weekend of the season. Syracuse visits Lehigh Valley in early April.
Won't that be a sight? All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, finally, we received some fantastic photos from you, our viewers, over the weekend.
Let's check out our pictures of the day. First up, this one is from Allison, and it is a gorgeous shot from Cato. This was our favorite of all the ones she took of a sunset.
Beautiful sunset. And a special sight in the sky this weekend. Bert Polstra spotted an eagle in the trees above his home. What a gorgeous sight. Well, that's it for us. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you again at 11. Have a great evening.
And coming up next here on News Channel 9, Diane Sawyer and ABC World News. Have a good evening.
Log on to 9WSYR.com for news and weather anytime, anywhere.